news of victory over Hitler's Nazis, Yank armies swarm across western Germany, bringing devastation to cities of the Reich. From all sides, Allied might crushes in on the remains of the Wehrmacht, bringing home the horrors of war to the German people as they have never experienced it before.
This was the Allied victory. But if you were German, it was your defeat.
And now, we are hated, objects of contempt. We are poor, downtrodden, and despised by all.
The German people had known for some time that they would lose the war. And that they would soon be called to account for what had been done in their names.
My fingers are shaking as I write this. Everyone is now turning their backs on Adolf. No one was ever a supporter. Everyone was persecuted, and no one denounced anyone else. What about me? I was there. I breathed what was in the air. It affected all of us.
This is not the story of how Adolf Hitler seized power in Germany. This is the story of how and why the German people gave it to him.
It's easy to throw stones. Easy to sit in judgment when you are in the midst of abundance, roast chicken, and the good life. We do differently, people say. We would long since have shaken off the dictatorship of Nazi terror. Would they really have?
Some of what you will see has never been shown on American television before. And some of it cannot be shown in Germany, even today. These are their words, their films. This is the rise of the Third Reich. There had once been another war. And another German defeat.
The end of the war meant husbands restored to wives and life restored to men. But there was no sense of joy, only defeat, anxiety, senseless gunfights, confusion.
If you were German in 1919, Your peace was humiliation and suffering. Enforced democracy had resulted in chaos. Money was worthless. Vigilantes ruled the streets. Berlin had become a swamp of depravity. Everything and everyone was for sale.
The atmosphere has become revolutionary, apocalyptic. Not only money, but all standards have lost their value. Saviors have appeared everywhere, declaring that they've been sent by God to save the world.
Mystics, magicians, and religious fanatics drew followers desperate for rescue. Each was called a Heiland, or savior. But in German, there is no plural word for savior. There can be only one.
In Munich, there is a corporal who has been causing trouble. They say he has an almost hypnotic power.
It was the 2nd of September, 1923. Here at this nationalist rally, Adolf Hitler made one of his first appearances on film.
They say he puts up signs at his meetings saying, "No entry for Jews." But he has the most persuasive line about German honor and rights for the workers and a new society. And whether you like him or not, he certainly knows what he wants.
Two months after this film was shot, he would attempt to take over Germany and fail. Overnight, Hitler became a national figure. To some magnetic, to others absurd.
The Munich savior filled the headlines with a ridiculous attempt to stage a revolution in a beer cellar. In fact, the revolutionaries had been dispersed by police fire as they left the cellar. And that was the end of the matter.
But it wasn't. The swastika, or Hakenkreuz flag, carried that day by Hitler's National Socialist Party, was stained with the blood of the fallen. From this point forward, Hitler would call it the flag of martyrs, and use it to inspire a growing following of true believers. Nazis.
I feel electrified. A man by the name of Adolf Hitler has tried to restore honor to the German people. I feel with an increasing certainty that a man has arisen to lead the fatherland towards a brighter future.
Here in Bückeburg, in north-central Germany, film hobbyist Adolf von Hinüber shot this film with his 9.5mm camera. "200 miles away, in Berlin, communists were filming these violent clashes with police. But if you were a loyal follower of Adolf Hitler, you would have been here. It was August 2nd, 1929. And the National Socialists were filming their third-party rally, the first here in Nuremberg.
Und unser Führer, ein!
100,000 Nazis attended.
Suddenly, Adolf Hitler appears. He goes to each man, shaking his hand. There are things one cannot explain, cannot describe. I never stop thinking of him. Sometimes he meets us in our dreams.
In this footage, Hitler consecrates Nazi Party flags by touching them to the Blutfahne, the blood-stained swastika of his failed revolution. The loyalists were dazzled.
People call him a fool and a dreamer and much more. But what you say is true, Adolf Hitler. It is critical to our nation's history that we introduce over 65 million people to the ideas of National Socialism. 65 million National Socialists. Wonderful, fantastic, this goal.
Most Germans still thought of Hitler as too radical, if they thought of him at all. But in less than 3 months, Wall Street would crash and take the German economy down with it. And within a year, the Nazis would be one of the largest political parties in Germany.
While we descended into misery and called anxiously for a savior, he emerged like a mountain. Columns march, drums beat, and 100,000 men stand firmly gathered around one man. Now, build up your people, O Master. A new great fatherland awaits.
It was 1932. This footage was recorded at a carnival near Leipzig, Germany. filmmaker Walter Langer brought his 16mm camera and the girl he would marry. The atmosphere was joyful. But beyond these carnival gates, there were calls for revolution. If you were German and you wanted change, you had two choices. Either you joined the growing numbers of communists, or, like Walter Langer, you joined the Nazi Party. The Great Depression was in its third year. And Germany had suffered as much as any country.
German mother, your children's father and provider stands before the closed-down factories, unemployed, without bread, without the hope that his lot and life will change. German mother, you want a good future and freedom for your children. This is why you will vote on the 13th of March for Adolf Hitler.
On film, Walter Langer documented Hitler's first and only bid for elected office, the German presidency.
Mädchen sind wunderschön für Lulu, lasst sich alle stehen, wenn sie kommt, sagt jeder voll Leidenschaft, fabelhaft. Mädchen sehen reizend aus, Lulu sticht sie alle aus, wenn sie tanzt, sagt jeder geheimnisvoll, einfach.
Republikaner. Der Tag der Entscheidung naht. Hitler. Dass diese Bewegung nicht zur Geltung in Deutschland derart kommt, dass sie die politische Macht hat.
If you opposed the Nazis, you were sure that this was the end of Hitler.
Hitler himself is still rather a handicap for the movement that has gathered around him. Besides, for ordinary Germans, his personal appearance is thoroughly repellent. The epileptic behavior, the wild gesticulations and foaming at the mouth, the alternately shifty and staring eyes. Most of those who have begun to acclaim Hitler would probably avoid asking him for a light if they met him in the street.
But in less than a year, Hitler would be chancellor. It was the 10th of February, 1933.
Sie hören schon an sich vermehrenden Geräusch, wie die fieberhafte Spannung zu wachsen beginnt.
Although they had never captured more than 37% of the popular vote, the Nazis were the largest political party in Germany. And so, German leaders installed Hitler as Chancellor.
Der Reichskanzler Adolf Hitler, der Führer des jungen Deutschland, der hier im Sportpalast
As many as 20 million people across Germany were tuned in to this radio broadcast. Hitler's largest audience ever.
Deutsche Volksgenossen und Genossinnen. Reich und arm, Stadt und Land, Gebildete, Wissende und Unwissende. Sie sind da, Aufgabe der Politik. Kann es nun nicht sein, deshalb sie getrennt zu organisieren, sondern Aufgabe der politischen Führung muss es sein, diese natürlichen Trennungen nun durch ein größeres Ideal, durch eine größere Erkenntnis zu überwinden. In uns selbst allein liegt die Zukunft des deutschen Volkes. Wenn wir selbst unser Volk, unser Vaterland und unser Führer heil!
After this speech, Nazi Party offices were flooded with so many membership requests, they had to suspend admissions. Even so, Hitler did not yet control Germany. In 2 weeks, that would change. It was the morning of February 28th, 1933. If you lived in Berlin, you awoke to this. During the night, someone had set fire to Germany's parliament.
Just now, the revolution has begun in earnest. The middle class had been repelled by the roughness and lack of polish by the Nazis. Now, they've been frightened and won over by the Reichstag fire.
To this day, no one is certain who set the fire that destroyed the Reichstag. But Hitler knew who he would blame. his rivals, the communists. The Nazi press said that the Reichstag fire was intended as a signal for communist cells across Germany to rise up and revolt.
They wanted to send armed mobs into villages to commit murder and plunder. Hostages would be taken from the middle class. Wives and children of police officers used as human shields. The destruction of all cultural values, just like in Russia.
Hitler had invented a communist threat. Now he would use it to crush his opposition.
The morning after the fire, I discussed these matters with a few friends. All of them are very interested in the question of who really started the fire. And more than one of them hinted that they had doubts about the official story. But none of them were bothered that from now on, their telephones would be tapped, their letters opened, and their desks broken into.
Radical and violent changes were happening across Germany. But Hitler had justified them all.
This ruthless intervention by the government may appear strange, but we must clean up. The communists have to disappear.
Day after day, flags raised, buildings taken over, people shot, newspapers banned. It is shocking how naked acts of violence, breaches of the law, barbaric opinions appear quite undisguised as official decree. Actually, it's terribly risky even to be writing this. It was the 23rd of March. The communists were in jail. There was no one left to stop the new Nazi majority in Germany's parliament. When delegates voted to consolidate all power in Adolf Hitler. He had been chancellor for exactly 52 days. Now, for all intents and purposes, he was dictator.
We cry with happiness and joy. All traces of resistance have been eliminated. Enthusiasm grips the entire nation. We can barely believe that our beloved Führer stands alone at the helm of the Reich.
Church bells ring. Children wave flags. There are daily parades. The people have become used to cheering, even when there's no reason for it. It is reason enough that people who distance themselves from the Nazis are tortured to death daily with steel whips and electric drills. Better to celebrate. Howl with the wolves. Heil, Heil, Heil.
It was the 28th of March, 1933. Adolf Hitler had been dictator of Germany for 5 days. Even so, unless you openly opposed the Nazis, your life went on as before. But for some, that was about to change.
We are having lunch with a law professor and his wife. They are both Jewish. The amazing thing is that this clever, charming woman is not at all opposed to the Nazis. On the contrary, she lectures us on the outstanding qualities of Adolf Hitler, on the greatness of the age which we are allowed to witness, on the national rebirth. And she is firmly convinced that no harm whatsoever will come to educated Jews in Germany.
4 days after this lunch, Nazi Party member Walter Langer used his camera to document another historic moment in the new Third Reich. The Nazis were boycotting all Jewish businesses in Germany. Fewer than 1 in 100 Germans were Jewish. Most saw themselves as Germans first. Even so, Hitler said the Jews were Germany's misfortune.
Suddenly, everyone feels justified or required to have an opinion about the Jews. and to state it publicly. Distinctions are made between decent Jews and others.
I sympathize with the Jews. However, I would support their conversion to Christianity, with all honesty.
Why do they still lie when they already have the power to do what they like? I want to know that. Why don't they just kill us? If that's what they want.
This footage was shot at the Oranienburg concentration camp outside Berlin in the spring of 1933. It shows an orderly camp where prisoners are treated humanely. But if you were there, you would have experienced something much different.
No one ever knows when it will be his turn to be beaten, or for what he must be beaten. Those who are beaten up in the camp usually do not say a word, because they dare not. But at night, you could hear the groans and sobbing.
A friend tells this story. A man's garden was dug up. There was supposed to be a machine gun in it. But nothing was found. To squeeze a confession, they beat him. His corpse was brought back to the hospital. His body had boot marks on the stomach and fist-sized holes in the back. The official cause of death? Dysentery. The message was clear. Opposition of any kind would not be tolerated. The Third Reich had begun its rise. It was January 1st, 1934, and the Nazis were ringing in the new year.
A year of success is behind us. People, state, and nation have become one. And the strong will of the Führer is over us all. Germany stands before the world as an unshakable unity.
But not everyone was welcome in the new regime. Only those citizens the Nazis believed were racially superior. And this year, they would begin to engineer more of them.
Lieber kleiner Heinebutt. Brudje, wo kommst du auf einmal her? Kommst du von den 1000 Sternen oder kommst du aus dem Meer? Deiner Züge glatt verspiegelt.
In 1934, Nazi Party member Kurt Hartmann and his wife Lotte welcomed this new baby boy. Ulrich Hartmann was lucky that his parents did not suffer from undesirable genetic traits. Because this year, the Nazis would begin surgically preventing those Germans from breeding. The Nazis made propaganda films like these to encourage compliance with the new law. But you could be forcibly sterilized for anything they considered a genetic flaw.
I have been informed by writing that I am to be rendered infertile. I reject this decision. I cannot understand why they want to sterilize me, since I've done nothing wrong. Anyone could have suffered from a nervous breakdown.
Emma was sterilized anyway.
I have noticed in these triumphant Nazi celebrations a new feature I never used to see. Behind the band and its following of brown-shirted storm troops, there is now a long tail of civilian flag wavers who never used to march with them.
It was the 25th of February. These Nazi loyalists were assembled in Munich for what was billed as the biggest oath-taking in human history. If you knew what was good for you, you joined them.
Der Programmverkündung gemeinsam den Schwur der Treue. Ich schwöre Adolf Hitler. Unverbrüchliche Treue. Unverbrüchliche Treue. Unbedingten Gehorsam. Sieg heil! Sieg heil! Sieg heil!
In 1934, Kurt and Lotte Hartmann's oldest son, Peter, began school. Like other German boys, on his first day, he learned the mandatory German greeting, Heil Hitler. If you were an adult and you didn't use the Hitler greeting, you risked being sent to a concentration camp. So now, in public at least, it seemed as if everyone was a Nazi.
Everyone, literally everyone, cringes with fear. No letter, no telephone conversation, no word on the street is safe anymore. Everyone fears the next person may be an informer.
Summer, 1934. Nazi Party member Adolf von Hinüber filmed this footage here on the island of Borkum in the North Sea. He and his friends were welcome at this popular vacation spot. Jews were not. For decades, the residents of Borkum proudly claimed to be free of Jews. And this year, the Nazis would set that goal for all of Germany. If you were a devoted Nazi Party member, the summer ended, as they all did, with the annual pilgrimage to Nuremberg for the party rally. For the faithful, this was the most highly anticipated event on the Nazi calendar. But the rally of 1934 would be particularly special because this year they would film the most influential piece of Nazi propaganda ever made.
What I witnessed in Nuremberg is one of the most remarkable events I have ever experienced. I cannot compare it to anything I've ever experienced before as an artist.
Mein Führer, ich melde 52.000 Arbeitsmänner zum Appell angetreten. Heil, Arbeitsmänner! Heil, mein Führer!
To capture the glory of the Third Reich, filmmaker Leni Riefenstahl helped to stage it, directing and rehearsing this scene at least 50 times.
Kamerad, woher stammst du? Aus Friesenland. Und du, Kamerad? Vom Kaiserstuhl. Und du? Von der Donau, vom Rhein und von der Saar. Ein Volk, ein Führer, ein Reich, ein Land.
The film Triumph of the Will premiered to worldwide acclaim, winning awards in Germany, Venice, and finally, Paris. Within a year of that award, Adolf Hitler was named Time magazine's Man of the Year.
A teacher in Dornberg had the children recite, "Jews are sinners. They slaughter Christian children. They cut their throats. The damned Jewish filth." The teacher threatened to punish the children if they would not learn the poem by heart by the following day.
It was September 15th, 1935, and once again, the Nazi faithful were gathering in Nuremberg. In a speech that was broadcast to the nation, Hitler addressed what he called the Jewish problem.
Ist der Versuch der gesetzlichen Regelung eines Problems, das im Falle des abermaligen Scheiterns dann durch Gesetz zur endgültigen Lösung der nationalsozialistischen Partei übertragen werden müsste. Hinter allen drei Gesetzen steht die Partei und mit ihr und hinter ihr die deutsche Nation.
After these three laws were read, the halls rang with minute-long applause. It was the call of a wild animal, a beast that smells blood.
Welcome to Berlin, capital of the German Reich.
It was the summer of 1936, and the world was coming to Berlin.
For Berlin, 1936 is the Olympic year, and therefore Berlin is presenting herself in festival dress. The main theme are the flags of the new party's designs, the black swastikas in a white circle on a red background.
Germany's capital was hosting the 11th Olympic Games. And the Third Reich produced tourism films like this to encourage foreigners to visit. Hitler wanted the world to see the Nazi Renaissance for itself. And so, for 2 weeks in August, the Nazis put on a show. If you were a foreign tourist at the Olympics, the Nazis might have convinced you that Germany was an open and tolerant nation. For the first time in 3 years, foreign newspapers were available for purchase. The signs prohibiting Jews from public parks or benches had been taken down. If you were German, you knew this was not Nazi Germany.
I find the Olympics so odious. It's constantly being drummed into the foreigners that here, one is witnessing the revival, the flowering, the unity of spirit of the Third Reich, which lovingly embraces the whole world.
Ich verkünde die Spiele von Berlin zur Feier der 11. Olympiade neuer Zeitrechnung als eröffnet.
Outside the stadium gates, Berlin's hotel and